Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. Oh my gosh, look at that panel of Batman. You have the Absolute, you have the Deluxe. DC Comics firing on all cylinders.
Hello everybody, I am Dom of X, comicreleases.com associate editor, and today I am thrilled to share with you all that in partnership with Topaz Distribution, there is something special going on over at DC Comics. Yes, in partnership with both Topaz Distribution, Heroic Deals, and also DC Comics, they are launching a program to help out and distribute comics as a part of the Summer of Superman program. Go over at your comic shop, and also in the link down below, there will be a specific list of comic book stores that are also participating in this specific event. This event is going to showcase a bunch of brand new number 170 in total at these participating locations, so that if you are, again, a brand new reader, or if you have been reading comics for any good number of years, you will find something awesome and fresh in these takes that these creators have given us with these 70 comics. I am very happy to talk about this over in the next couple of minutes, and if you have a couple of minutes to take your time, join me as we look at all of the comics that are going to be distributed. And one interesting thing of note, they all have the DC Bullet logo, and they are all brand new appropriated number ones. You will see some reprints that are refashioned as number ones, but we're going to go over that in just a minute. But before we head in, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are brand new to the channel, and click on that notification bell so you can get every single update from Near Mint Condition, not only regarding DC, but everything awesome about comics. Let's go ahead and get into it. Before we get into the meat of all of these issues, and there are a lot of issues to talk about, quickly run over through. Again, I want to thank the folks over at Topaz Distribution and Heroic Deals for making this happen. And again, all of the links at the participating locations, whether it be a comic store or a local grocery shop near you, the links will all be down below. All right, let's go ahead and kick it off with the first issue of Byrne's Superman run in the 1980s. John Byrne was given an edict by DC editorial and relaunched the entirety of the Superman line in the wake of none other than Crisis on Infinite Earths. And you want to talk about that, Adventures of Superman, Action Comics. He was in charge with quite literally everything. I still have no idea how he was able to master and write 4 different titles to essentially give us this modern vision of Superman. And also, you can see in this, we also have special excerpts included for books that are coming out by DC right now. So Absolute Superman getting a preview, and DC collected editions that are essential to whatever franchise that they are promoting. The next book that we're going to be talking about is Batman Sword of Azrael by Dennis O'Neil and Joe Quesada. Yes, in the 1990s, we had a brand new character pop up by the name of Azrael that quite to startle up a decent amount of the Batman line. Superman, Emperor Joker. The special edition is going to recollect issue 160 of Superman, as that is where the crossover began. This is the very, very infamous storyline of what if the Joker was given the same mind-bending reality powers as Mr. Mixius Pitalik. This is a crazy one to read indeed. There is Bizarro talk, and there is Ed McGuinness art, and I promise you this won't be the last time that we see Jeff Loeb and Ed McGuinness on a collaborative issue in this promotion. Superman for all seasons. You want to talk about an interesting 4-issue storyline that is hailed as one of the greatest of all time. Look no further than this. There is a specialty whenever Tim Sale is drawing the title. I think the beautiness of his art really speaks to the spirit of what makes Superman so special, and the same could also go for Batman too. That is why he is one of the greatest artists of all time, and definitely one of our generation. This is arguably one of, again, like I said, one of the most important Superman stories of all time, and it goes by Superman for every season. Each issue is dedicated to a special issue. What is up with the origins of Superman, what is going on with Pa Kent. You will figure that all out here. It is definitely a great jumping on point to see what Superman is like as a character. If you are a big fan of the original DC animated series from the 90s under the production of Bruce Timm, look no further than Ty Templeton's beginnings of these stories from the Justice League show. Now, this is Justice League. This isn't Justice League Unlimited, so we are limited, no pun intended, to the team that we are given in the show. But if you are a huge fan of those characters, a huge fan of that cast, I would definitely suggest checking this out. If you're also a big fan of those Batman Adventures omnibuses and the Batman and Robin Adventures, this is also one that I would recommend. Batman Hush. There is a mystery involved. How can we continue to further develop Batman and make him a cool detective character? This is what is answered in Hush, illustrated by Jim Lee, inks by Scott Williams, and colors by Alex Sinclair. If you want everybody thrown into the wind in Batman's way, and I do mean everybody, look no further than Batman Hush to satisfy your soul. This is reprinting issue 608 of Jeff Loeb's famous Hush storyline. The iconism of Superman Birthright, I think, speaks no boundaries in terms of what Mark Waid was able to do for reimagining the origin of Superman. And we've had a lot of reimaginings of his specific character, but one thing that always stood out to me, not only with the dynamic panelings and the movie-esque storytelling that Lionel Francis Yu brings, this really does speak, again, to figuring out how Clark became himself. There is plenty of heart in the storyline, and there's also a lot of compassion that comes along with it. And you get to see why Superman, again, why he's different than everybody else on this planet. And I think it just speaks to the level of understanding that Mark Waid has over his character. The Batman Strikes. Remember watching this 2004 show? This was rerunning on the Boomerang for me when I was a kid. Nonetheless, we do have the Batman striking in this specific comic book with the Penguin featured. And if you are a big fan of those early DC animated shows, but this time not produced by Bruce Timm, definitely a different art style. JLA Classified by Grant Morrison, and interestingly enough, Ed McGuinness. I did say that we would be seeing a lot more of Ed McGuinness in the future, and this is no different. There are characters that pop in here that will appear in Grant Morrison's Batman run, so if you are looking for, I suppose, material to read, I would definitely suggest picking this up, as this is not the last time that Grant Morrison will lay down some threads in this specific part of the DC universe. And that is all I have to say about that. Superman for Tomorrow. I call this the Batman Hush of Superman stories, and take that however you will. This is Jim Lee and Brian Azzarello teaming up to do a Superman story. What is happening to the Man of Tomorrow? Well, the secrets are all going to be unveiled specifically in this miniseries. Again, Jim Lee pencils, Scott Williams inks, and lots of juicy spread pages for those who are wondering. So, if you are interested in seeing Jim Lee draw Superman, this is definitely a book that I would consider picking up. My favorite show of all time. Well, at least for the animated series over at the DC Universe. I think Justice League Unlimited really is the peak in terms of what you can do with a rotating cast and also an established cast. There are plenty of characters that you will recognize and love in this TV show. And this issue specifically features Zatanna. Who doesn't love Zatanna? Who doesn't like seeing Despero fight the Justice League? We'll have to see what goes on there, but this is definitely a show I would recommend. We're getting a triage of Jeff Loeb's Superman Batman issues, so if you are interested in seeing Jeff Loeb write more Superman, this time paired up with Batman, look no further than these specific issues of Superman Batman, including Absolute Power, which is drawn by the late legendary Carlos Pacheco. We also have the reintroduction of Supergirl, specifically in this issue that I am flipping through. So if you are interested in another retelling of Kara, this is definitely a look at that. And then we also have issue number 13, quite oddly, of Superman Batman in the world's finest, recapping their tale. So if you like Superman and Batman teaming up together, this is definitely a series that I would recommend if you prefer something from the 2000s. Justice. I remember when I saw this specific trade paperback on my comic shop, I was wondering, well, what does this series have to offer that no other Justice League book can? Well, Alex Ross is drawing it, and I think that is all that matters. Maybe Doug Braithwaite does assist on the inks in this specific book. So if you are looking for a tale of the Justice League against evil, look no further than Jim Kruger's Justice, which is available in pretty much every single format available that you can think of. How do we write a tale to rival Crisis on Infinite Earths? Make it an infinite crisis. Project OMAC is completed. What happens because of that? Well, I will tell you what. The Justice League has to go solve it. Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman need to figure out what is going on with the craziness that is in the world. This is not only the reintroduction to the multiverse at DC, this is the tail end sequel to Crisis on Infinite Earths as part of what was supposed to be the second part of 3 crises. Uncle Sam shows up. You've got the Secret Society of Superhumans. There are plenty of characters that are thrown into the mix at this. As you can see, Mongol getting his lights punched out by Superman. There are surprise characters from different Earths that appear in this specific event. I would definitely recommend it. It is one of my favorite crises events. And which Superman is this? Well, you will have to find out in Infinite Crisis. Battle for the Cowl. In the midst of Bruce Wayne disappearing from the face of the planet, well, somebody has to take up the mantle of Batman. Whoever might that person be, well, we will have to find out in this specific comic book where, yes, you have members of the Bat family, you have Black Canary, you even have Wildcat showing up. Who's going to be Batman at the end of this? Well, we will have to figure it out in Batman Battle for the Cowl, which follows right after Final Crisis, and you can read Batman and Robin after that. Batman, the Brave and the Bold. I remember watching this TV show when I was a kid religiously, and I loved it. This is still one of my favorite shows to this day. Team ups with Batman. If you want Plastic Man thrown in there, he will pop up. And if you want Simon Stagg being found for doing something bad, this is where he will pop up. This is definitely a show that you should watch, and it is now available reprinted in comic format. Flashpoint. Yes, the end to end all ends. What happens when your mom comes back to life and the whole universe has changed? Well, Barry Allen has to solve some reclamations in this 5-issue series. Check out Flashpoints by Andy Kubert and Jeff Johns. George Perez had a hand in reimagining Superman right after the events of Flashpoint in the New 52 initiative, and the late legendary George Perez was only on for an arc out on. But we did get enough, I think, to reclamate that with some pretty panels. And in that same vein, Grant Morrison had a hand over in Action Comics, reimagining what if you modernized Golden Age Superman into today's world. I think that this story represents a lot of things that I really like about Superman. I think it kind of wanes in on the way out. I think it's just okay through the second arc, but this is, I think, one of my favorite New 52 Superman storylines. That is, again, Grant Morrison's Action Comics with Rags Morales. And continuing on the New 52 flavor, we do have the specific Greg Pak and Jay Lee drawn and illustrated Superman Batman duo book right in the midst of the New 52. There is plenty to go around in terms of great art. You've got great colors by June Chung as well.
So if you are looking, this is Ben Oliver as well. So if you're looking for great art, if you're looking for great Superman, Batman storytelling, look no further than Batman Superman by Greg Pak. We've also got Adventures of Superman that is a first-hand look at some digital chapters that were reprinted by DC. We get these reprinted again, and also Jeff Lemire drawing Superman. Something that I was definitely surprised at when I actually found out that this was a thing. So if you're looking for some other different stories of Superman to tell, look no further than Adventure. Got a couple too. We've got Crypto the Superdog, another DC digital tale. Also featuring, yes, Crypto the Superdog. Beware the Batman by Ivan Cohen and Luciano Vecchio. This is early Luciano Vecchio. This is in regards to the 2013 Beware the Batman show that I have never watched, but I do want to at some point. Let me know if it's available on Max. I would love to watch it at some point. Superman Unchained, you probably might notice this as I did a review on this specific channel about the brand new printing of the deluxe edition with these gorgeous Jim Lee spread pages. And if you are a brand new Superman fan, if you want something to read right after the movie, Batman Europa is an interesting one. This is Jim Lee actually going over to Europe and finding different artists to draw specific issues for this specific 4-issue series. You have Giuseppe Camicoli, you have other creators as well. There's one story that happens in the Czech Republic, there's one story that happens in France, there's one story that happens in Germany, and one in Italy. Superman, Lois and Clark, Dan Jurgens, Lee Weeks. Man, this is a family story. This is the setup for the rebirth tales of John Kent. Can Clark Kent be a dad? Can he do something in the midst of convergence? Find out. And Lois and Clark. Batman Arkham Knight. Peter J. Tomasi wrote an 8-issue prelude series right before the video game came out. I remember when I was a kid, I asked my parents if I could get Batman Arkham Knight, and they said no because it was a rated M game. So I gave my friend 6,990 pennies to buy the Xbox One version, and I was actually that's for a different time. Play the video game. And now we're on to DC Rebirth with All-Star Batman. There are two specific issues that they are throwing here, which is the first arc with John Romita Jr. on art, and then the Ends of the Earth story, which is one of my favorite Batman stories over the last 10 years. This is Batman going to literally the ends of the earth to finding somebody that he needs to stop, and he goes through all of his villains with haunting art by artists such as Jock and Tula Lotte, Francesco Francavilla. This is definitely a story they should keep an eye on. They also have a sneak preview of Absolute Batman, another story that you should read at some point as well. Some interesting stuff that they added on here. You have Harley Quinn and the Suicide Squad April Fool Day special from the DC Rebirth line, and then you have the adventures continuing with Alan Burnett and Paul Dini teaming up with Ty Templeton. Interestingly enough, to continue the Batman adventures where they kicked or left it off in previous years. It's another event. We got Dark Knight's Metal by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, which also, again, features Superman. So Superman is in this. It is not a Superman story, but he does, and the rest of the league figure out so that there is a dark multiverse underneath the current one, and you will find out creatures here and characters here that you have never seen in any single light before. Superman, the Man of Steel. Brian Michael Bendis was tasked in 2018 to reimagine Superman just like John Byrne did back in the day, and this time we have a brand new character known as Rogol Zar. There are multiple mysteries that Rogol Zar stems from on the planet of Krypton, and we will have to figure out what exactly happens to the Man of Steel in this series, which is drawn beautifully by Ivan Reis with inks by none other than Joe Prado. Superman Man of Tomorrow by Robin Venditti, I think, is one of the most underrated Superman titles ever. It is illustrated by Paul Pelletier, who is now over at Ghost Machine doing some things for Geiger, but nonetheless, this digital only was actually turned into a print run, and I had not had a chance to collect these in singles, but I did get a chance to read them digitally. it does have a lot of good spirit and also a lot of really, really fun action against some intriguing characters. So if you're looking for a very, very underrated run, I think that this is definitely one that you should look out for. Not only did they ask Brian Michael Bendis to do a Superman tale, but Batman Universe was part of a Walmart Comics line that they did with Superman, or Tom King doing Superman. Brian Michael Bendis was doing Superman at the time, obviously, so those two decided to switch it up. And man, Nick Darrington just absolutely rules. Loved him over from Doom Patrol, Weight of the Worlds. If you are looking for Batman Brave and the Bold type adventures, you will definitely find it here. It is just as wacky and just as chaotic as you think it might be, with some characters that are going to be thrown in there for your reading pleasure. Justice League Dark, one of my favorite Rebirth and Post titles. In the wake of Dark Knight's Metal and in the wake of Justice No Justice, there needs to be a team that focuses on magic, and who better to lead it than Wonder Woman and Zatanna, recruiting Detective Chimp, John Swamp Thing, and Man-Bat. Man-Bat, who would have known? It is wild. It is another one of my favorites, and there are many Nothing Men and also a lot of weird characters that show up in this, and Ram V will eventually take over right after. Deceased in a post-apocalyptic world. What happens when Darkseid and the, oh man, those Omega Beams, something happens and the entire DC universe has to suffer for it. This is an Elseworlds of epic and large grand scale tales, and people are infected, people are dying. What happens when there are characters who are wiped away and new ones have to take their specific place? Well, don't look there. Go pick up Deceased. Let's stay with the Taylor-esque vibes and continue along with Batman the Detective, which I call a Morrison-like story, but I only say that because Andy Kubert is drawing the art, and it just reminds me a lot of Batman and the Sun. But this was a 6-issue series that again featured Batman. You got the Knights. You've got different characters that pop up here and there, but it is a differently told tale in a far-off land, far away from America in Europe. So if you're looking for a detective tale, if you're looking for something different for Batman, this is definitely one that you should look out for. I also found it interesting that they threw in Batman Fortress and Batman Nightwatch, two different tales. This is Nightwatch is definitely geared towards the younger audiences. If you are a big fan of the Batman Gotham Knights game, I know it's not the Gotham Knights game, but if you're looking for something similar to that, I would definitely check it out. And Batman Fortress, what happens when people invade Earth? Batman needs to stop it. And Derek Robertson also draws Batman, which I would have never thought I'd lay my eyes on. So if you're looking for that, check it out. Teen Titans Go is also thrown in this. Teen Titans Go is a big following show from a lot of different people who just love, I think, the medium of comics. There's a lot of fun to be had in Teen Titans Go. I know it doesn't have the same candor as Teen Titans from the from 03. I mean, that was a show that I grew up with. But if you are looking for something to introduce to a kid or somebody who has never read a comic book before, I think Teen Titans Go is a great jumping on point for anybody trying to get into the medium that is young. Superman Family Adventures by Art Baltazar. Really love his art. I remember reading his Green Lantern backups when I was a kid. They had those in the Larfleeze one shot. I found that interesting. But this is a Superman-led tale. This is a Superman. You got Supergirl. You've got Perry White. There are a lot of different tales to be told in this specific comic book. If you're looking for just fun romp, this is definitely one for you. Also like to say they threw in Batman Scooby-Doo mysteries as well. So you have different characters and different guest stars all along Batman and Scooby-Doo. What mysteries will they have to find out with Scooby and the gang? Wilma, please make sure that everybody is safe right before this. This is also one of my favorite covers. I really do like this cover. Superman and Bugs Bunny. Well, that wascally wabbit, is it duck hunting season or is it wabbit hunting season? That is definitely a poor imitation for that. But if you are looking for Superman teaming up with Marvin the Martian and other Looney Tunes characters, Oh, Superman 78. Yes, this is very much in line with the 78 movie. If you have never watched the 78 movie, I would definitely recommend checking that out. There are so many inspirations that Mr. Torres, not to be confused with me, but Wilfredo has in this specific comic book that features the details and the optimism of Christopher Reeve's Superman. You know, it's funny. I thought that Gary Frank would definitely do something like this, but I guess he already does that for his regular comics, right? DC Goes Medieval in the Dark Knights of Steel. Talked about Deceased earlier. Well, this is another interesting tale of DC trying to do a medieval story. This time, again, with Tom Taylor. Yasmin Putri is the artist for a good handful of these issues. She doesn't draw every single one. But this time, you got Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman in different tales. There is middle-age well, not middle-age, but Middle Ages drama with all these characters, different feuding kingdoms. Something to be had for this 12-issue series and some. And it's going to be wrapped up in a series called All Winter. Now, something that you folks might not have noticed before, and man, Mark Waid went back to DC and decided to give us a whole bunch of amazing tales in Batman Superman World's Finest, which the spirit of the book just has to be top-notch, top-tier. You remember when people were friends, when Batman and Superman weren't fighting every single time about something? Well, this is Mark Waid's reimagining of the DC Universe as he sees it unfold. This happens on Prime Earth, but all of these stories take place more or less with a Silver Age tone, but that is just what... I mean, that's what Mark Waid grew up with. And again, Geoff Johns, Grant Morrison, they all have Silver Age on their prints. There are, at least for this specific reprint series, we have 5 arcs all drawn here by Dan Mora. So if you are looking for very fun storytelling, and if you're looking for something that will appease the curiosity in your soul to see how these friends can operate, this is look no further than this. While Superman was stuck on Warworld, John Kent decided to take over the title, another Tom Taylor title. So this is John Kent learning how to be the superhero of Metropolis, the one who will save innocent lives in the meanwhile. And yes, he has to figure out who he can be friends with and who he can't be friends with. So John Timms and Tom Taylor team up to do this tale. Superman and the Authority by Grant Morrison and Mikhail Yanin. Man, this series was so much fun, even though I didn't understand what I was reading 50% of the time. Manchester Black is in it, and this does tie into the rest of the Warworld saga. So if you're reading the Warworld saga, I would definitely recommend reading this right in the midst of it, because a lot of the actions that happen in here, they are very integral to the Warworld story being told by Philip Kennedy Johnson. Another crisis. It's Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. I know it doesn't say that on the title, but trust me, it is Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. I'm actually very surprised that they haven't reprinted the omnibus yet. But yes, this is the story that flips the bookend on the Infinite Frontier era of DC Universe before we head into the dawn of DC with all of the characters that you had been reading up from 2020 with the 5G-esque future state. Got 2 Tom King books here on the shelf, and this is none other than the reprint of Batman Killing Time and the Dawn of DC Wonder Woman. Dawn of DC is the 2023 relaunch for all of their books. It's not a reboot, but it is a brand new jumping on point for a lot of these characters. So if you are interested to see what Wonder Woman is up to with the US government, please check this out here. We're going to bookend it with a couple of Dawn of DC titles, the first of which is issue 1051 of Superman Action Comics, which features Philip Kennedy Johnson in charge of the Superman family, with Rafa Sandoval on art, who is now also drawing the issues of Absolute Superman, and then Joshua Williamson's Superman. I will have to say, this is probably one of the freshest titles that I have ever read, and I say that because I think the status quo that Joshua Williamson gives all of these characters is the most interesting that we've definitely had in a long time, and it makes the most sense for Clark and his candor, and also it is really, really fun just to read all these characters in a brand new light. Mercy Graves, Lex Luthor, and a couple of other villains. Metallo, they all show up. You know what to do. Pick up these comics. Got a couple of semi-out-of-continuity storylines to round it up. We have Multiversity. Harley screws up the DC Universe with J. Thierry writing a Morrison-esque, if you will, in name only, but they got the same vibes with Harley Quinn. We have 2 more Batman books, 2 of my favorite Batman titles on the shelf right now. Batman and Robin Year 1, which is Mark Waid and Chris Samnee. Oh my goodness, Chris Samnee just absolutely murdering the art. Oh my goodness, like the pages just ooze out creativity and everything else that you want from a Batman book. And the same goes for Hayden Sherman, teaming up with Dan Waters to tell these 3-issue specific key points and parts. Oh my goodness. This is absolutely tremendous. I love Batman Dark Patterns, one of my favorite Batman books in a very long time. You got the mysteries of a lot of new characters and also some reappearing bronze, silver, gold. There is a lot of detective stuff to check out in Batman. We're going to round it out with 2 last issues, both by Mark Waid and Dan Mora. First of which is Absolute Power, the crisis to tail end the dawn of DC era, with Dan Mora on art and Alejandro Sanchez on the colors. And then we do have Justice League Unlimited. It's a new era for the Justice League. Superman happens to be a part of it. Who's going to be on this Unlimited series? That, as they say, is that. Again, we want to thank the people over at Topaz Distribution for giving us a chance to take out a review of all of these books and all of these copies. Let us know down in the comments section if you are interested in picking these up, if you're ready for the Summer of Superman, or if you're ready for the Superman movie. I'm Dom of X, you be you. Please stay safe and have a great day wherever you are.